Well, all right. Welcome back to As It Should Be, Paul Berlino here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios. And, well, today I am going to be doing a ranking. I'm going to be ranking the 70s singles of Elton John. Yeah. I'm not doing a complete singles ranking because that's going to be like 60 singles or something. I mean, this 70s ranking is what? 33 singles. Okay? So this would be like a 3-hour video if I did all of his singles. And besides, most of the singles after the 70s I don't like that much anyway. So let's, I'm just going to do the classic period, 70 to 79. I'm not even doing the 60s stuff. I'm not doing, Lady Samantha or any of that kind of stuff. 70 to 79. Keeping it clean, all right? And I'm leaving out, there are two early singles that I'm leaving out, Rock and Roll Madonna and From Denver to LA. Perfectly good tracks, but they're just kind of, I find them a little early and insignificant, and I have so many singles to rank here. I'm leaving them out, so come at me in the comments if you want. But, let's get started. All right, it's coming to number 33. Easily the bottom of this list, by far. In fact, this is probably the worst Elton John single of all time. I commented earlier about how I don't really like a lot of the post-70s Elton John singles. A lot of them. Well, I like most, if not all of them, probably all of them, more than this. This is terrible. 1979, Johnny Be Good. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. All you Elton John fans know what I'm talking about. Covering Johnny Be Good just in general is never really a good idea. I'm looking at you, Judas Priest. But this is like some weird coked out disco version that's really kind of overly long and just does not work at all. And it's really terrible, and it's the bottom of my list. Johnny Be Good. Right, it's coming in number 32. From 1979, from the very same album, the title track, Victim of Love. Yeah, that came out as a single, and, it's the whole album is terrible. I mean, that's really easily probably usually considered his worst album, and you would not be wrong in consider. Like, it's one of those things where just if you have a burning pan, and everybody comes and puts their hands on that burning pan, they're all going to react the same way. Yeah, everybody reacts the same way to this terrible album, Victim of Love. Now, this single has Michael McDonald and Pat Simmons from the Doobie Brothers on backing vocals. The thing about that is that at around 79-80, it was pretty much against the law to make a record and not include Michael McDonald in some capacity, usually in backing vocals, more often than not. Elton got with the program. I mean, he did what he had to do, right, to stay out of trouble. Well, didn't do him any good. The record still sucks, and it still wasn't a hit. Yeah, anyway, Victim of Love. Coming in at number 31, we have Song for Guy. Yeah, from 1978. This is from the Single Man album. Perfectly good single. I'm not really that into it. From here on out, though, no more singles that I'm going to be saying are terrible, like the bottom two. I like everything from here on up. Not one of my favorite singles, but it's not bad, right? It's an instrumental that Elton was writing. Well, one day he was sitting writing this music, but he was really obsessed. He had these obsessive thoughts about his own death, and this is what he was imagining as he was writing this music. And he finishes it, and then the next day he learns that Guy, this kid named Guy, who was one of their delivery guys, courier or whatever, bike messenger guy, he had been killed on the day he was writing the song. So he dedicated the song to Guy, and hence the title. Yeah, it was a huge hit in the UK. Didn't do anything here in the US, but yeah, what are you gonna do? It's an instrumental. US people can't deal with instrumentals over here. Yeah, anyway, Song for Guy. Coming in number 30, we have Sartorial Eloquence. Yeah, from 1980, from the 21 at 33 album. A very underrated Elton album as far as I'm concerned. This single is okay. When I listened, I was actually kind of giving it a listen when I was doing this ranking, and at first, when the verse comes in, I'm going, yeah, this is pretty good, like good classic Elton sounding, and then the chorus comes in, and it's like, it just has this really just sort of Hallmark store adult contemporary sound that just drags the whole thing down, and overall, I'm okay with the track, but it the verses are wanting to take the single higher for me. The chorus drags it down, so it ends up landing here at number 30. Sartorial Eloquence. Coming at number 29, Bite Your Lip, Get Up and Dance. Yeah, from 1977. This is from the Blue Moves album, the last of the classic Elton era, and I think that's an underrated album also. But Bite Your Lip, Get Up and Dance is definitely a lesser single. It's him trying to have a disco hit, and I mean he made another effort to have a disco hit that hit the bullseye. That's much better, but it's also a much better song. That's the problem with this. I mean, he's sort of succumbing to disco like everyone did at the time, but he's not attaching it to much of a song. That's the problem here. And I don't dislike it, but it's easily my least favorite Elton single of like the classic 70 to 76, 77 sort of period. And Bite Your Lip. That's coming in number 28. Part-Time Love. Yeah, from A Single Man, also 1978. And yeah, I remember this song being on the radio all the time when I was young. Now, everything I've talked about so far, I've never heard any of this stuff on the radio. None of it. I've never heard Victim of Love, Song for Guy, Sartorial Eloquence, Johnny Be Good. I've never once heard any of these songs on the radio. Part-Time Love, used to hear all the time in 78. It's one of those Elton singles that kind of hit for a little while and then vanished. It's not an all-time Elton hit. Like, Rocket Man, you're still going to hear that on the radio, right? Part-Time Love was of the moment, but while that moment was there, you heard it quite a lot. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I may have it kind of low on the list, and I don't think really it's as strong of a song as the stuff I have above it. But, yeah, so it's a perfectly good late 70s Elton single, Part-Time Love. Right, it's coming in number 27, Ego from 1978. Yeah, this was the sort of farewell to Bernie single. Elton decided that he wanted to spread his wings and start riding out, away from Bernie. And so they kind of did this one last single together. And I was talking about all the singles that I've discussed that I have never heard on the radio except for Part-Time Love. This is another one of those. I didn't even know that this song existed for the longest time. I mean, it was sometime maybe in the late 80s, maybe early 90s that I discovered that this even was out there. And I got a chance to hear it, and I actually really like it. I think it's a really, really great single, and it's really looking forward. I mean, this is a 78 track, but it's definitely like he's looking toward the 80s on this record for sure. And yeah, I think it's a really great, underrated dark horse of an Elton single, and it has a great picture sleeve. The picture sleeve is absolutely great for that. And well, anyway, yeah, there you go. Ego. Right, it's coming to number 26. Island Girl. Yeah, from 1975. Yeah, this is from Rock of the Westies. Right back there, Rock of the Westies. Yeah, now I loved this single in 1975. I used to hear it on the radio all the time. I had the Rock of the Westies album, loved that, and it kind of hasn't stood the test of time. Other than, the sort of PC reasons for disliking it, that does make it a little cringy, but that even aside, I just don't think it's as good of a song anymore as I used to think. I mean, I still like it. It's still a good song, but it's definitely gone over time, because for a 75 single, 26 is a pretty low ranking, I would say. And well, sorry, Island Girl, that's where you land. Right, it's coming in at number 25. Another classic 70s single that I have pretty low. Well, Crocodile Rock. Yeah, now speaking of a single that I loved back in the day, yeah, when I was like a 4 or 5 year old kid, just getting really heavily into Elton John, the Greatest Hits album was a big part. Like, when I was 4, going on 5, that was a huge album. I mean, that record has such an impact on me. That's one of the 3 earliest, most important records of my early days. Okay, Crocodile Rock, the final track on that album, I heard it on the radio all the time, of course, but I loved it, but I was a kid, right? And kind of like Island Girl, it hasn't aged that well. I don't dislike the song. I don't dislike it, but it's gonna go a little lower on the list. I really don't love it like I once did, but it's good. I still, there's a little bit of my heart in there because I was so young loving that song, but yeah, just the same, it comes in number 25. Coming in number 24 from 1976. Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word. Yeah, from the Blue Moves album. Yeah, this is a really great song, a really just moody piano ballad. Great track. I remember this song being on the radio as a kid, and I remember getting this single. I remember getting this single. I distinctly remember the day. I can picture standing there downtown with my new Elton John single, and I really liked it. And this is one, I have it kind of low on the list, but I really like this song as much as I ever did. There's just so many great Elton singles to rank, right? That I just like more than this one. But yeah, I mean, Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word is a really, I think it's a little bit of an underrated, slightly forgotten, great 70s Elton single. Now, coming in number 23, I have a song that I guarantee most people watching this, most Elton fans watching this would rank way higher. I have this criminally low, but I will tell you something. I also criminally have never loved it that much. It's a great song. It's a great single. I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong, but I have it merely at number 23 from 1971 from the Madman Across the Water album, Leave On. Yeah, you thought I was going to say Tiny Dancer, and I'm not that crazy. Yeah, Leave On, I have it, number 20 and number 23. I do like the track. You know, obviously the Madman Across the Water album is great. There's just something about this track that I don't love as much as all the other stuff I have above it. And that's kind of all I have to say about that. It's never, and it's not a thing where I really loved it when I was younger and it kind of fell down over time. I've kind of always felt exactly the same about this track. It's just sort of been like, yeah, kind of, but not quite. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you. Leave On. All right, now number 22. Man, this is a record. Oh my God, you could not avoid this record back in the day, and for probably a good solid 2 or 3 years, probably. It was the sound of the oxygen around you. It was just it was everywhere. No matter where you reached out, you were touching this song because it was everywhere. Don't Go Breaking My Heart from 1976. Yeah. Anybody who was around in 1976, 77, you know what I'm talking about. And I loved it. And I still love it. But I really, really, really loved it back then. I just absolutely loved this song so much. You know, I actually didn't have the record then. I didn't have the 45, and I didn't really ever get the Greatest Hits Volume 2 album until much, much, much later. So but the thing is I didn't have to have the record. If I turned on the radio, within 10 minutes, I was going to hear the song. So what are you going to do? Yeah, but one of the biggest classics of all time of Elton, right? Don't Go Breaking My Heart. Now, coming in at number 21, a single that I probably have a lot higher than a lot of people will put it. In fact, this is a lot higher than I would have put it myself back in the day. You know, I talked about some singles that I used to really love that now... Well, this is one that I used to hate, that I really, really love now. I wanted to put it higher, actually, but anyway. I'm talking about Little Genie. Yeah, from the 21 to 33 album from 1980. Yeah, this record, I remember when it came out, when this was all over the radio, it just kind of sounded like boring adult contemporary to me. It sounded like something my mom might listen to. You know, my mom's very young though. See, so in 1980 I was 10, my mom was 25. So, but to me, at 10, she may as well have been 40. So this was old people music. You know, Elton John just sounded past it to me, and I was just like, I just was not interested. Over time, I really started to love this track. I mean, it took a couple of decades. It was sometime in the 90s, maybe even the 2000s when I listened to it again. Hadn't heard it for a long time. And it was like, just suddenly it was nostalgic. Because this is another one of those Elton singles that I like, some of the ones I was talking about earlier, that kind of really just got airplay in its day and then didn't keep going. at like Elton, like certain other Elton singles are all time. You're always going to hear them. This you just pretty much heard then. You don't really hear it now. So when I hear this, it takes me right back to that moment in time. I just picture being in the apartment, on a Saturday. My mom worked Monday through Friday during the day, and then on Saturday, she cleaned the house and she played music. She played the radio, or she was playing, whatever, Heat Wave or George Benson or, Boss Skaggs or whatever, the albums that she loved. But she played a lot of the radio, and I can just imagine being in the apartment on a Saturday with Mom cleaning the kitchen or the bathroom and Little Genie playing. And me not liking it back then, but I really love it now. Little Genie. Right, it's coming in number 20 from 1975. Pinball Wizard. Yeah, now, okay, this is a special case. This actually didn't come out as a single for purchase. It was, you couldn't go to the record store and buy this. It was a promo-only single. And I didn't realize this until recently, because you heard it on the radio all the time. I heard this track on the radio 100 billion times in the 70s. You heard it every day. And that's, I almost would have left a promo-only single off the list, but the reason why I included it is because, I heard this song on the radio way more often than any number of songs that actually came out as proper singles. Now this, it was ubiquitous. So, it came out as a promo US single in 75, and then it came out in UK in 76. And of course it was part of the Who Tommy film, where Elton played the Pinball Wizard. And this is actually the first version of this song that I knew. I remember it being on the radio, and the Who version being on the radio. I think there was a Rod Stewart version that I would hear on the radio. I remember as a kid thinking, wow, there are a lot of people who do this song. I didn't know whose song it was. I didn't know it was the Who's song originally. I just knew it was a song that I liked, that I always heard different versions of. But the number one version for me that I heard the most and I liked the most, of course, was the Elton John version. And I have it coming in number 20. Right, it's coming in number 19. Another ubiquitous song from 1975. Yeah, that was a big year for Elton. Arguably his biggest year. And this song was, I was talking about Pinball Wizard being all over the radio in 75. Nothing compared to this. You could not take a left turn without this song staring you in the face. Philadelphia Freedom. Yeah, oh my God. This was if you turned on the faucet, this came running out. It was just everywhere. It was seeping into your pores. You could not avoid this song. And, I loved it back then. I still love it now. Of course I heard it all the time back then, but what really kind of struck me is that nowadays I listen to a lot of radio air checks from the 70s, well, from all different times, but especially the 70s, and any air check, which is a recording of old radio, anytime I'm listening to an air check from 75, anything from February on, because February is when it came out, you are going to hear this song. I don't care if the air check is 8 minutes long, you're going to hear this song, because this thing was everywhere. Great song. I don't love it as much as I used to, but I still really love it, and it's a great song. I actually toyed with putting it higher on the list, just for old time's sake, because I started getting into my head of like how I remembered feeling about it back in the day, and started digging deep in my head and kind of letting it take me to that place, and I almost put it higher, but nah, I'm a little bit more tired of it than that. So there you go. Philadelphia Freedom. Right now, number 18. This is a single that I have a lot higher than I would have not that long ago. Yeah, this is Are You Ready for Love? Yeah, from the Tom Bell sessions, recorded in 77 but not issued till 79. Right, 79. Yeah. Elton went in, he was going to make a whole album with Tom Bell, but they made about a half. They got through maybe about a half an album's worth of tracks, and it just all fell apart because those guys were going like this, I think. And it's too bad, because I love Tom Bell, I love Elton John, I love that spinner sound, and I really love the tracks they did record. I would love to have heard this as a whole album. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is probably the things I'm going to want to say when I do the ranking of the albums, but whatever. Anyway, this song, when I first heard it, And it was maybe 20 years ago or something that I first heard it, and I just thought it was a disco song. I was like, and I just kind of disregarded it. And I like disco. I'm a kid from the 70s, so I like disco, but sometimes I tend to kind of get turned off on what I consider gratuitous sort of, disco that non-disco artists were doing back at the time. And that's kind of how I heard this at the time. And then went back to it later. I'm like, what's wrong with me? This is like a straight up Spinners song. I mean, I love the Spinners. I love all those 70s Spinners singles. 70s Elton John doing 70s Spinners. Yes, please. Yeah. Are You Ready for Love? I think this is a great single. Yeah, underrated. Right, it's coming in number 17 from 1973 from Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. Yeah, and also from that Greatest Hits album. And that's where I first heard it. Again, I mentioned this earlier. In 74, 75, that Greatest Hits album was just like a big bang, one of the many early big bang moments for me. But that was a huge one. That's, a huge one. And that's one of two songs that I didn't know from that album from the radio. And, every song on that album you heard on the radio. Your Song, Daniel, Honky Cat, Rocket Man, all that stuff. This one and one other that I'll talk about a little later, I only knew from this album. I never heard on the radio back in the day. And this song really was just like, made my head explode. I thought this was the most just mayhem that was possible in a recording. I thought this was the most rocking track known to man. I mean, this was just absolutely just insanity. And in fact, there's that point at the end of the song where where the band kind of stop, where kind of the band kind of lets a note ring out, and there's a synthesizer that goes woo before he goes back into the chorus. When I was 5 years old listening to that, I literally remember listening to that for the first time, thinking that the track was so hot, just rocking so hard that that it was destroying the record. Like, I thought that the stereo was like coming undone because of like the hot rocking that was coming from it. That's literally what I thought. So that was my first experience with just like out of control, blazing rock and roll. Yeah, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. What a single. All right, it's coming to number 16 from 1971. Friends. Yeah, from the film of the same name. This wasn't this wasn't on any of his regular albums. This was a single, and it was on the Friends soundtrack, which has a lot of other Elton tracks on it that are only on that. But this is a really, really great, long forgotten early Elton single. That sounds a lot like, it's from 71, like Madman Across the Water, and it absolutely sounds like it would be on that album. It would be one of the best songs on that album, in my opinion, if it was on it. This is a total forgotten track. Like your casuals, everybody who knows Rocket Man and Benny and the Jets, they don't know this song. Go look at it. Go to YouTube, go over wherever you want. Go listen to it. Great track. Friends. Coming in number 15 from 1973. Step Into Christmas. Yeah, Step Into Christmas. What a great Christmas single. A lot of people put out Christmas singles and they're okay. Maybe, some classic ones have come out, but there's a glut of just forgettable ones or ones that suck. But Elton's 1973 Christmas single, Take Two. But Elton's 1973 Christmas single, Step Into Christmas, oh my God, it's absolutely great. I mean, it's like a classic Christmas song married with 70s Elton. I mean, you marry anything with 70s Elton and it's just going to be great, right? Well, almost anything. I mean, I have some songs that I've talked about earlier, but whatever. Anyway, Step Into Christmas. Coming in number 14, Mama Can't Buy You Love. Yeah, from 1979, from the Tom Bell Sessions. Yeah, this is more Spinner's goodness that I did not like much at the time. This is one of those, when I was a kid then, didn't really like the track. It was kind of, again, this is one of those, seemed like Elton was past it kind of tracks to me back then. Oh boy, was I wrong. This is a great 70s Elton doing 70s Spinners. Yeah, I mean, great track. Mama Can't Buy You Love. Right, it's coming to number 13, Honky Cat. Yeah, from 1972, from the Honky Chateau album. And of course, This is another one of the songs that I mainly knew from the Greatest Hits album, 74, and of course from the radio. But yeah, I mean, as far as having it on vinyl, initially I just had it on the Greatest Hits album. That Greatest Hits album was just like, it was just, all the songs on that Volume 1 Greatest Hits album were just like part of the air I was breathing when I was a kid. And it's just, yeah, I just, it can't be overstated how much those songs meant to me and how much, impact they had and how much they still mean to me. Honky Cat is one that I think is kind of for me a little bit. It was a favorite back then. Now I have it, at number 13, which isn't bad considering this is a 33 track list, right? Single list. But I think it probably would have been top 5 or 6 for me back, in the 70s when I was a kid. Yeah, but it's still a great track. It's the opening track on the Honky Chateau album, and it's a classic. It's Honky Cat. I mean, come on. All right, coming in at number 12 from 1975, a double A-sided single. This is Grow Some Funk of Your Own / I Feel Like a Bullet in the Gun of Robert Ford. Now I have to explain something here. The only reason I have this ranked as high as it is because of I Feel Like a Bullet in the Gun of Robert Ford. If Grow Some Funk of Your Own was just the A-side and then whatever the B-side was, even if it's Feel Like a Bullet but it was just a B-side, then I would rank it a lot lower. I like Grow Some Funk of Your Own, but I like it really more in the context of the Rock of the Westies album. I like it as an album track, just in the mix with that record. I don't think it's a strong single track. Feel Like a Bullet is much stronger as a single, and it's a much better song. The thing with double 8-side singles, even with that, you kind of have the A amongst the A's, and that's... Grow Some Funk is kind of really considered the A amongst the A's, but that's a mistake. It should have been Feel Like a Bullet as just a straight up A-side, and yeah. That's why, that is the song, that is the reason why I have it as high as I do. That's why it's at number 12, Feel Like a Bullet. Okay, so now we have number 11. At number 11, The Bitch Is Back. Yeah, from 1974, from the Caribou album. Yeah, this is the opening track on that album. And, I always found it really odd that this song wasn't on the first Greatest Hits album. Yeah, because, that's so weird, isn't it? I mean... I feel like it should have been on that album over maybe Border Song. I love Border Song. We haven't discussed that one yet. But, I mean, The Bitch Is Back was a way bigger hit. I really don't get it. Anyway, great song. I remember hearing it on the radio all the time as a kid. And I remember being really confused by the fact that he was saying bitch on the radio and that everybody seemed to be completely okay with it. But hey, he's Elton John, right? I mean, I guess he gets to do that. I mean, I don't know. Bitch is back. All right, so now we have the top 10. This is my top 10 Elton John singles of the 70s. I mean, if we're being real, this is my top 10 Elton John singles. There's nothing from any other decade that's going to rank any higher than these 10 singles. So yeah, my top 10 Elton John singles. Well, this is from 1974, and it's a cover. And it is a song that he made his own. And it's his version that I heard first. Yeah. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had never heard the Beatles version yet when I heard this. This was an Elton John song to me when I was a kid. And in the end, I think I love the Elton John version more. I mean, I'm a huge Beatles fan. The Beatles are my favorite band. I worship the Beatles, as, ridiculously as a lot of people do. But I think maybe I love Elton John's version of this song more. Part of it is childhood nostalgia, but I also think that he just the arrangement, his version, like him just turning it into an Elton John song, he turned it into a song. Because I mean, John Lennon really all he wanted was for it to be a one-note drone, which is not how it turned out, but it still is pretty almost monotone compared to the Elton track. Like Elton turned it into a track, like the arrangement, and he takes it into all these different. All these different sections and everything. He turned it into an epic. And yeah, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Great cover. All right, it's coming to number 9. The big breakthrough single. The classic among classics, 1970. This is Your Song. Yeah, oh man. This is the moment that kind of really introduces Elton John to the world, right? And it was the opening track on that Greatest Hits album, so it was the first thing I heard every time I put that record on, and it was just, it was just the epitome, wasn't it? And it's just such a great song, such a classic. And the thing is that it's just such a, it's part of my, it just runs in my veins from like my earliest childhood memories of listening to music. That record came out within probably within months of me being born, so it was basically always there for my entire life. And my God, Your Song, I don't even know what to say about this record. It's just, it's the ultimate classic, isn't it? Your Song. Right, it's coming to number 8. Tiny Dancer, from Madman Across the Water, the opening track. Another one of those songs that was a big hit at the time. You heard it on the radio all the time, but it wasn't on the first Greatest Hits album. Why? I realize you can only put so many tracks on a single disc, and Elton had so many great singles that even by 74, he had too many to fit on one album. He didn't have enough probably yet for a double album yet. Maybe they could have done a double. I don't know, but for whatever reason, I find this such an odd omission from that. They did put it on the Volume 2 Greatest Hits collection, but again, I don't know. It seems weird. But anyway, I'm going on and on about this because Tiny Dancer is just it's become bigger over time. Really, as much of a radio hit as it was back then, and it was included on Greatest Hits Volume 2, I think it's kind of a bigger Elton song now than it was then. And there's this really great video on YouTube somewhere of him, I think on Old Grey Whistle Test or something, just sitting, playing this song on TV for the first time, just him at the piano, just his vocal and just his piano, brand new song. I don't even know if it was even out yet. And it's so fucking good. Just his voice and his piano. It's like, damn. Like, that could have been the record itself. It just like the power of the greatness of the song, like Bernie's lyrics, Elton's music and melody, and his voice. Elton's 70s voice, one of my favorites. And just all those things coming together, and it's just, it's incredible stuff. Tiny Dancer. Right, coming in at number 7, Border Song, from the self-titled 1970 album Elton John. Now, I love this. Look, I have this at number 7. I love this track. This was one of the tracks, this is Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, were the 2 tracks on Greatest Hits that I had never heard before when I started listening to that album. This song in particular, I thought, what's this random weird song that I've never, because every single song on that album, you're like, oh yeah, I've heard this 1,000 times. I've heard this 1,000 times. I heard this yesterday. I heard this afternoon. Border Song, it was just like, what's this? I thought it was a B-side or something. It was actually a single. Strangely, I don't think it was a big hit, but man, what a song. Like this gospel-y sort of song that's just, kind of majestic, isn't it? Yeah, one of Elton's great singles. I didn't... That's the thing about the song. When I was listening to that album, and I'm a little kid listening to an album full of songs that were hits on the radio that I loved, this song I'd never heard before, and very quickly it became one of the songs I loved on that album. It didn't matter that I didn't hear it on the radio, that it was just like seemingly a random track. I fell in love with it immediately, and I love it to this day. Border Song. Right, coming in number 6, Daniel, from 1973. From the Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player album. Oh man, it was the second track on the Greatest Hits album, so I was hearing that all the time. I would hear Your Song, coming up next was Daniel, and oh man, that song, that's another one of those that I feel like hasn't gotten played a lot as the over time as the years have worn on, but you heard it all the time back then, and I loved that track so much, and I still love it, and it really takes me back to that time when I hear it to this day. It's the haunting Mellotron vibes. There's a Mellotron on the track, and this song is really kind of melancholy and hopeful, and kind of I don't know, it's like a melancholy, sweet and sour, happy, sad kind of thing about it, while being a kind of a wistful ballad. I don't know, it's a really weird track, but I really love it. And yeah, Daniel. It's the opening track of Don't Shoot Me. I don't think it works as an opening track for an album, but that's the only bad thing I can say about it. And, that's not even about the song. That's just about its placement on the album. Daniel, amazing song. All right, it's coming to number 5. Benny and the Jets. Yeah, oh man, from 1974. Well, it's from the 1973 Goodbye Yellow Brick Road album, but, that album just had so many hits on it. You're going into 1974 and they're still putting out singles, and this was an early 1974 single, and man, what a single it is. Oh, the B-side of this, and it's the B-side, so it doesn't count here, but the B-side of this is Harmony. I don't have time to talk about that song right here and right now. Oh, but anyway, Benny and the Jets. Oh man, yeah. Track number 2 on side 2 of the Greatest Hits album. My God, what a track. Which is like a kind of a little bit of an R&B track. In fact, he got to go on Soul Train doing this song, and it's with a little bit of a glammy vibe. It's like a glam R&B song. The subject matter is very glam, and it's just it's an incredible track. Benny and the Jets. It's a classic among classics. All right, coming in number 4. Someone Saved My Life Tonight. Yeah, from Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Oh, now this is the earliest Elton single that I remember as the new Elton John single, as the new Elton John song. Okay, I remember when my Aunt Vivian, she got it right when it came out. She got the 45, and she's like, "I have the new Elton John single here." I hadn't even heard it on the radio yet, I don't think, and she played me the record, and it was like that was my first experience of hearing the new Elton John song. And obviously I'd heard any number of Elton John songs on the radio 1,000 times before, and there were a lot of them that I was hearing probably when they were brand new. I just wasn't aware that it had just come out. Nobody had introduced it to me as like, here's the new Elton John song. I would just hear it on the radio. It was just around. This one, it was literally like a sit down, you're going to hear the new Elton John song now. And that's my memory of this, and of course getting the Captain Fantastic album at the time as a kid. And man, easily one of Elton John's best songs, period. Not just one of his best singles. I mean, what an incredible track this is. I mean, somebody did a whole YouTube video going through every little bit of this song, kind of just explaining just why this song is so incredible. And go look it up. I don't remember who put it out, but look it up. So I'm like, it's really eye-opening, and it's just like, you're like, oh yeah, this is a really weird, ingenious track. And I love it to this day. Someone Saved My Life Tonight. Right, coming in number 3 is the song that I used to like least on the Greatest Hits album. Yeah, when I was a kid, this was a skipper. Not anymore. Oh man, I have this shit at number 3 now. I love this so much. So much. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Yeah. Obviously from the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road album. What an incredible, beautiful, just dreamy song. And this song begat one of my other favorite songs from the period. See, we got Sedaka back there from Sedaka's Back. Yeah, Laughter in the Rain. Yeah, the whole sort of changing to the chorus that he does there, that sort of uplifting, almost modulating sounding change to the chorus that Neil Sedaka does there. He got that idea from the chord changes that Elton is using on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And there you go. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, 2 incredible songs. But yeah, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. When I was a kid, I was wrong. That is a great, great, great song. All right, so coming to number 2, a song that a lot of people would have at number 1. And it's fighting to be my number 1, but it only comes in number 2, and that is Rocket Man. Yeah, Rocket Man, Honky Chateau, 1972, opening track on side 2 of the first Greatest Hits album. Man, that, talk about an evergreen track. Back then it was just about my favorite on that album, just about. And now it's just about my favorite. Like, what an incredible track, and it never gets old. how many times, I have no idea how many times I've heard this song in my life since I was, a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid. I never get sick of it. It's an absolutely incredible track. I love it so much. And whatever. I mean, I don't need to go any. It's Rocket Man. I have it at number 2, and it's part of my blood. It's part of the oxygen. It's the air that I breathe. I've already said this stuff, but yeah, just like most of the tracks on that album. But this one, just a cut above. Rocket Man. All right, it's coming in number 1. My number 1 70s Elton John single, and well, if we're being real, my number 1 Elton John single, period. Okay? Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You kidding me? Oh. I love this single. I love this song so much. This is from the Caribou album from 74. I, of course, know it from the Greatest Hits album, and this was easily one of my favorites. This probably was neck and neck with Rocket Man even then. But I've always loved this so much. I mean, it's just like this beautiful, ethereal track that I just, it's just the verse melody. I love the gorgeous floating space in the verses. There's so much space in that mix. It's just really sparse. A lot of reverb, but just really sparse, and just and then just like the big exploding choruses, and it's just it has not, and nor will it ever lose its magic. It is as incredible as it was the first time I heard it back when I was a kid, and I will love it forever. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Alright, so there you go. That is my ranking of the 70s Elton John singles. Yeah, hopefully this video didn't get too long. It's 33 singles to talk about. This could be kind of a long video. But yeah, thank you everybody for sticking it out and watching the whole thing, if you have. And thank you everybody who has subscribed, if you have. If you haven't, maybe consider subscribing. And if you do, click the little bell because of notifications. But also, you're going to want to come back this Thursday because Crystal Durant and Tommy Von Voigt are going to be back, and we are going to be continuing our Albums of the Year series, and this week we are going to be discussing our favorite albums of 2008. Yeah, that's how far we've come in this series. For the uninitiated, people who are watching for the first time because it's Elton John. Yeah, we've been doing this whole series. We started in the 50s, and well, here we are in 2008 this week. So come back and check that out. Yeah, and I will see you guys soon. Coming in at number 30, Sartorial Eloquence. Yeah, from 1980, from the 33 at 21 at 30, or whatever. Yeah, the 1980 album from 33 at 30. Okay, Jesus.